By the time you're done watching this video, another 60 to 100 people in North America will have sustained an injury while on a construction site. Please pay attention and join us in keeping safety at Superior Number 1. The Superior Construction family has worked hard to achieve our collective reputation. We're known for service, quality, and safety since 1938. Our commitment to safety is reflected in our safety performance. Despite our success in this area, we are intent on achieving our goal of zero incidents. Nobody wants to get injured, and most of the time, we make good decisions, safe decisions. We take the time to plan the work and follow the rules. But sometimes we think we must rush the job or skip a step, and our behavior becomes risky.
Hello, my name is Nick Largura, 4th generation owner and Chief Executive Officer of Superior Construction. Everything we do, whatever your work involves, no one should ever get hurt. Our safety goal is zero incidents. Even one incident is too many. Cultivated with more than 80 years of experience, our safety program helps provide the practices and procedures to help create a safe work environment for you and those around you. Safety is the job of each person working on behalf of Superior Construction. Together, with your commitment, we can help ensure that we all go home to our families safely.
We must all work hard to achieve zero incidents. Careful planning of your tasks is essential. But the most difficult part of incident prevention is making decisions protecting you and your fellow workers from harm. As your employer, we must comply with all safety regulations. We must maintain a safe and healthy workplace by identifying and controlling hazards and executing a well-documented HSE program. As employees, you must comply with our HSE policies as dictated by legislation. You must always work safely, and you must report any unsafe acts or conditions so we can take corrective measures. We want you to know at Superior, safety is a core value, and it's everyone's responsibility. We have clear and specific HSE requirements you and your coworkers are expected to follow. In this orientation session, you'll learn more about what you can expect and what's expected of you. If you have questions, we want you to feel comfortable speaking with one of our HSE professionals you see on site or your supervisor. As part of this orientation, we want to provide you with insight into our safety culture. It isn't a separate culture. It is the foundation of everything we do. Throughout your career with us, we want you to live our safety vision to make safety a part of your day-to-day interaction at work and home. We know there's a lot to learn about our safety program. To help you better, we've developed the Employee HSE Handbook. If you have a question about our safety policies or want to better understand our safety expectations, you'll find the answers in its pages. You're required to familiarize yourself with the handbook, then sign and return the acknowledgement sheet to your supervisor. All our safety resources are documented and are available to you in paper format at the job site or in electronic format. Some of these important documents include our corporate HSE vision statement, fall protection policy, HSE manual, and our HSE OPs. If you're in doubt about a safety practice, you can look it up in the handbook or consult your supervisor. Every employee has the right, even the obligation, to refuse a task if they think the task will place them in harm's way or is unsafe. Remember the first thing we talked about? Our expectation of zero incidents. If you think we don't have the right equipment, tools, or hazard controls planned into the task, stop and talk it over with your supervisor. Get the right stuff together and do the job safely. And don't forget to redo the THA to show the changes that were made to make the work safe. In addition to Superior and our clients' policies, all governmental regulations must be followed. You can find these rules in the job site office. Workers must plan their work and comply with Superior, client, and governmental HSE standards. If you or another employee don't follow the safety rules, disciplinary actions will be taken. That discipline may involve a verbal or written reprimand or removal from the job site, either temporarily or permanently. Superior reserves the right to terminate any employee on a single HSE infraction, with or without prior notice. Safety isn't optional. It is a condition of your employment. Certain misconduct is designated as zero tolerance because it is so serious and potentially dangerous. The following violations as grounds for immediate termination: any criminal or illegal activities on the job site, possession and/or use of any illegal drugs or alcohol on the job site, possession of firearms or other weapons, any physical fighting or other acts of workplace violence, theft or attempted theft of property of any value or vandalism, sleeping or resting with eyes closed during the scheduled work shift, smoking in non-designated areas, bomb threats, unauthorized access or modification to a red-flagged area or a red-tagged scaffold, entry into a confined space without a valid permit, willful violation of any job site or operations work permit, failure to follow fall prevention rules or comply with the manufacturer's recommendation on the use and maintenance of equipment, violation of the lockout, tagout procedures, tampering with fire prevention equipment or client plan equipment, operating equipment without proper authority or qualifications, and failure to use sanitary facilities. Our substance abuse policy states the possession and use of illegal drugs and the misuse of legal drugs and controlled substances can have a serious impact on safety and will not be tolerated. Superior has zero tolerance for any use of illegal drugs and alcohol on our job sites. Also, you must use care when taking prescription drugs, as some could cause impairment. Please respect our rights in this regard and the rights of your colleagues to work in a safe and drug-free environment. We consider you to be an invaluable resource because you have first-hand knowledge of what's happening on a project. We want your feedback to improve our program. We conduct training wherever and whenever we need to. It can take place at the job site or in our local office, at the start of the day or at the end of the day. To conduct our training, we draw on several resources including videos and PowerPoint presentations. More importantly though, we rely on our own hands-on experience to bring the importance of safety home to you. Our HSE field meetings are critical to the success of our safety plan. As Superior, you'll be required to attend weekly HSE meetings. On some job sites, daily HSE meetings are held. If for some reason you miss an HSE meeting, you'll need to review the content with your supervisor. Being ready to work safe is more than just showing up on time and attending a safety meeting. It's also being physically ready to work. You need to warm your body up with stretching so you can reduce strains and sprains. Stretching prior to getting your day started is very important. On every Superior job site, we prepare a job hazard analysis, or JHA, to determine the risks of specific work tasks and take actions to modify the work or provide protective mechanisms reducing the risk. You, your coworkers, and supervisor must review and sign off on every JHA pertaining to your work and use it as a reference to do the task safely. Before you join your crew and begin work, meet with your foreman or supervisor and complete a task hazard analysis for your job. Task hazard analysis, commonly referred to as THA, is a mandatory program designed to identify and control the hazards associated with job-related activities. Here's a THA book. The THA is an important activity because it helps you verify the working conditions. The THA is a pre-task planning tool designed to increase productivity and decrease the possibility of an incident. A THA can be conducted by a supervisor, designated work crews, crew members, and employees. The THA will help to recognize, eliminate, and control potential hazards. Each worker must sign their THA when it's completed. Each crew must also complete a THA at the start of each shift, prior to any new job tasks, when new workers are assigned, when the information about the job changes, or when any job conditions change. The THA should be conducted in the location where the work will be performed. That way you can better assess the hazards and the controls. Check off applicable hazards and other information as necessary. We only plan for one task per THA. If there's more than one task, do a THA for each task. Indicate the tasks and break the task down into steps in the first column. List the hazards in each step that could hurt you or a crew member in the second column. List the hazard controls to help prevent incidents in the third column. All workers print and sign their names. Look around if other crews are doing work in the same area. Share your THA with those workers and look at their THA too. Review the THA after breaks and after lunch. The supervisor of the crew or superintendent signs off on the bottom of the THA. A large measure of our regulatory responsibility in terms of safety lies in environmental protection. Consequently, the aim of our environmental policy is to minimize hazards to public health, protect the environment from the adverse effects of construction operations, comply with all legislated standards and regulations, assess potential environmental risks, evaluate and monitor environmental performance to applicable standards, work with industry, governments, and workers to enhance environmental awareness and maintain effective reporting. The project-specific HSE plan will have specific procedures to help meet government requirements to limit our impact on the environment, including procedures for handling chemical spills, procedures to control erosion from job site rainwater runoff, as well as dust control and procedures for handling contaminated soil or groundwater. We expect all our employees to treat the environment with respect for the safety of our generation and for generations to follow. While we make every effort to work safely, inevitably objects do fall and fly. Grinding, sawing, concrete chipping, chemical mixing, welding, and burning are a fact of life in the construction industry. Please do not attempt any of these tasks without effective face and eye protection. Whether it's safety glasses or goggles, face shield or welding mask, ensure your work clothes cover your entire body, especially your arms and legs, to prevent exposure to skin irritants, flash burns, cuts, or scrapes. We also ask that you wear work clothes that are close-fitting. If your clothes are loose-fitting, it may be a hazard to you, especially when you're working around moving machines or power tools. Some working conditions also require you to wear protective gloves, suits, or boots. For example, when you're working around hot liquids, acids, caustics, or toxic substances such as benzene or lead. If we ask you to help with these materials, we'll provide you with specialized clothing for the task. As a minimum, all workers on a Superior job site must wear PPE, including head protection, eye protection with side shields, foot protection, and you must also have hand protection on your person. Your job site may have additional PPE requirements, so be sure to ask your supervisor. Additional PPE may be things like fall protection, hearing protection, full face protection, fire-resistant clothing, reflective vests, or respiratory protection. Without proper footwear that is in good condition, you're at risk. Proper footwear will protect you if you step on a sharp object, lose your footing on uneven ground, or drop a tool or material. You must wear the appropriate footwear as dictated by the project-specific HSE plan. All too common and all too preventable are hand injuries. In construction, hands and fingers are injured more often than any other body part. We ask that you wear work gloves whenever you're performing work to protect you from minor cuts and abrasions. In fact, hand protection is so important to us, we provide you with work gloves on our projects. Many of the hand and finger injuries result from pinch points that cause fractures or lacerations. It is important you keep your hands and fingers out of places where they could be pinched, crushed, or bruised. Keep your mind on your work and know where your hands are. Sounds a bit obvious, but it's really important. Remember, you must wear hearing protection whenever the noise is louder than 85 decibels. There are lots of different things on a job site that exceed 85 decibels. You can tell if the noise is above 85 decibels when you need to raise your voice to be heard if you're at an arm's length from the person you're speaking with. When working in oxygen-deficient atmosphere or where dust, fumes, corrosive liquids, and toxic substances are present, protect yourself by wearing the proper respiratory equipment. Respiratory devices vary in design, application, and protective capability. Check with your supervisor to ensure you're using the appropriate protection. By law, we are required to develop a fall protection and prevention plan for each project we undertake. Whenever your job requires you to work at heights, please refer to your site-specific fall protection and prevention plan before you start work, and learn more about the procedures you must follow to stay safe. Before you start any work requiring fall protection, you must check with your supervisor for details of the fall protection plan for your task. Superior requires fall protection at 6 feet and above. Some client or regulatory requirements may be more restrictive. Ask your supervisor for details. Fall protection can be achieved on a job site by constructing guardrails or limiting access to platforms or leading edges. When this is not feasible, fall protection harnesses and lanyards secured to an approved anchor point must be used. Superior requires 100% fall protection, so you'll be required to wear a double lanyard. This allows you to disconnect one lanyard while transitioning to the other location and to remain 100% connected. When you do your THA, your supervisor will help you determine the fall protection requirements and anchor points. An important part of being safe at work is knowing how and when to use guardrails and how to keep safe when there are holes in the walking surface. A guardrail system should be used whenever there are holes that cannot be otherwise secured and on unprotected sides of decks, excavations, and other elevated surfaces. All guardrail systems must consist of top rails, mid rails, and toe boards. Top rails must be 42 inches high, plus or minus 3 inches. If a guardrail needs to be removed to allow for access to work, you must get approval from your supervisor before removing it. Once you have permission, always follow the procedures outlined in the project's specific fall protection plan for guardrail removal. Openings are sometimes required during the construction process for everything from pipe chases to blockouts. Floor openings or holes are defined as a gap or void 2 inches or more in its least dimension in a floor, a roof, or other walking or working surface. All such holes must be properly guarded. Holes must be covered and covers secured to prevent accidental displacement. Covers must withstand at least twice the anticipated load. All hole covers 12 inches in length and 9 inches in width or less will be marked with a circle with a cross through it. All floor hole covers greater than 12 inches in length and 9 inches in width or diameter must be identified with a sign reading "Hole cover, do not remove" and marked with a circle with a cross through it. If the opening or hole is too large to be covered, a guardrail system must be used. There could be congestion in your work location resulting from many workers in the same small areas and/or stored materials, causing crowded conditions. Make sure you assess the hazards of congestion when completing the THA and take corrective action as needed. Be sure to thoroughly communicate with nearby crews to reduce the hazards of working in close proximity. Remember to review other crews' THAs to understand their work and hazards. As you will see, there are a lot of signs throughout the job site, and they all have extremely important messages on them. These signs are important communication tools, telling each employee about potential hazards. They communicate information like PPE requirements, emergency contact numbers, restricted areas, confined spaces, muster points, and working conditions. It's everyone's responsibility to stay well informed. If you are working over areas that are accessible to workers, it is your responsibility to make sure the area beneath is defined and barricaded. Along with signs, we also use yellow caution and red danger tape to create warning lines to warn workers to be alert for hazards. The yellow caution tape is used to warn workers there is some serious activity in the area. Before they enter, they need to identify the hazardous activity and then look around to see if it is safe to enter. Red danger tape indicates a much more severe danger than the one using yellow caution tape. The red danger tape is used when the activity in the area could severely injure or kill you. Do not enter. The red danger tape is used to warn you to stay out. If you absolutely must go into the red taped off area, you must get permission before you enter that area. Remember, if you put the barricade tape up, you also take the barricade tape down when there is no longer any need for it. Some job sites may have different procedures. Please check with your supervisor for details. On occasion, you may be asked to work with a chemical. If you're not familiar with the chemical, ask your supervisor for the Safety Data Sheet or SDS before you begin work. SDSs are available in the job site office. An SDS is a safety-oriented fact sheet for a chemical telling you everything you need to know to work safely with that product. This is all critical information when handling chemicals. If you put chemicals in a container to use on the job, that container must have the chemical clearly displayed on it. All harmful gases need to be handled and stored properly. Every job site has different detailed procedures depending upon the gases stored and used on that job site. Ask your supervisor to explain the procedures on this job site. Our comprehensive ladder and scaffold safety program outlines our standards for safely erecting ladders and building scaffolds. Some job sites have different rules for the use of ladders. Some job sites don't allow ladders to be used at all, while others require permits and fall protection plans. Check with your supervisor for the ladder rules on your job site. If ladders can be used on your job site, make sure you always use them in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications. Additionally, keep the following in mind. Pick the right ladder for the job. Always make sure the base of the ladder is level and secure. Make sure there's no debris around the base of the ladder. Inspect all ladders for defects before use. Do not paint any ladders. Do not work off the top 2 rungs or paint shelf. Only carry material in tool belts or suspended by ropes in buckets or similar containers. Keep both hands free for climbing and descending. Always face the ladder and keep 3-point contact when climbing or descending. Do not reach out too far. Keep your belt buckle inside the rails to maintain your balance. For extension ladders, the ladder should extend 3 feet above the landing point if using the ladder to climb to a higher level. The ladder must be properly secured so it cannot slide or fall. Tie it off at the top and have a coworker hold it or cleat it at the bottom. The angle of the ladder should be set so for every 4 vertical feet the ladder is 1 foot out from the wall. For step ladders, fully open the ladder. Make sure the spreader arms are locked. Only stand on the step side of the ladder. Use your hands to support yourself and help with balance. Never climb on a folded step ladder propped against a wall or other surface. If you need scaffolding to perform your work, you must obtain permission and proper instructions from your supervisor before erecting it. Please note, scaffolding should be erected and dismantled by competent workers. Scaffolds are designed to provide safe, secure, elevated work platforms for workers and materials. Scaffolds will be inspected at the start of each work shift. All scaffolds will be tagged. The tag should be located at the ladder or stair access and will show the date of the last inspection. If the scaffold hasn't been inspected at the beginning of the shift or the tag is missing, don't use the scaffold. Tell your supervisor and he or she will get it inspected. The color codes for the tags can be compared to traffic lights. A green tag means the scaffold meets all requirements for safe use. In most cases, you can work on a scaffold with a green tag without a fall protection harness. A yellow tag indicates the scaffold may be abstracted or partially complete, but can still be used with caution as identified by information on the back of the tag. This usually means a fall protection harness is required to be worn and used when you're on the scaffold. A red tag means the scaffold is under construction or being dismantled and should not be used. Any defects or issues with a scaffold should be reported to your supervisor immediately. Do not use any scaffold you feel is unsafe. When working from scaffolding, workers must climb the scaffold using the ladder or stairway provided and never climb on the braces. Understand the nature of any electrical, fall, and falling object hazards in the work area. There may be additional procedures and guidelines for safe erection, use, and dismantling of scaffolding on your job site. Check with your supervisor for details. Confined spaces pose a threat to the health and safety of anyone who enters it. That's why we've developed a confined space program. If you are authorized to enter a confined space, you must receive specific instructions and training prior to entry. Also, please review the safety procedures associated with this program. If you're unsure if it is a confined space, please contact your supervisor before you enter. Whether you're digging a large open excavation or a narrow trench, you need to be familiar with possible hazards. Our trenching and excavation program will help increase your awareness of the risk associated with these work situations. You need to recognize and address any environmental conditions indicating a hazard such as water level or bulging wall. You also need to know what's under the surface. Supervisors will have reviewed utility plot plans and talk to utility providers to understand the locations, prior to digging. But make sure you use appropriate methods to locate and stay well clear of utility lines. Check with your supervisor and always complete the excavation permit before digging. Don't forget to look overhead, as electrical and phone lines can be struck by equipment if precautions are not taken. You need to know in construction, electrocutions are the second leading cause of fatal injuries after falls from height. Your safety depends on your due diligence in eliminating electrical hazards before you start your task. Always inspect electrical cords and plugs. If the insulation is worn or the ground plug is missing, take the cord out of service. Never try to fix or create a shortcut for malfunctioning electrical equipment. Return it to your supervisor, who will arrange for its repair by a qualified person. Also, as part of your work, install ground fault interrupters or GFIs and implement an assured grounding program. Before starting work on energized equipment, lock out the sources of energy. The superior HSE operating procedure entitled Control of Hazardous Energy must be reviewed and fully understood before lockout procedures are implemented. Your supervisor will help get you access to this operating procedure and the specific procedure having been written for lockout of an individual piece of equipment. The heavy nature of construction materials sometimes requires the use of mechanical hoisting equipment, such as cranes and forklifts. Only qualified personnel may operate equipment or provide hand signals for providing lifts. If signaling is your responsibility, please maintain clear communication with the operator and use taglines to control the load. There are several brands of aerial lifts we use, and all require you to be trained. Before using an aerial lift, complete the daily use inspection checklist. Never operate an aerial lift having mechanical deficiencies. And always wear fall protection harnesses and lanyards. Be aware of job site traffic control plans and traffic patterns, and know the parking rules and entry points. Be especially cautious around congested areas where there is a lot of traffic. Additionally, all property damage incidents, including damage to vehicles, equipment, and structures, must be reported to your supervisor. If you have questions, ask your supervisor. Demolition work has several unique safety and environmental risks. The demolition checklist must be completed and a thorough THA done to make sure the hazards are controlled. If your tasks involve demolition, additional training may be provided. Underground utilities such as electrical, gas, and water lines can be hazardous. On a construction site, you'll use many tools to perform your work. All tools must be inspected before use. Keep your tools in good condition. It's your responsibility to take care of tools and report frayed electrical cords and other deficiencies. If damaged, tag immediately for repair or replacement and notify your supervisor. Use the right tool for the job. Do not add extension, cheaters, or makeshift devices. They will only increase your risk of injury. Guards on tools are there for your protection. Use them. Of course, you should never use a tool unless trained in its safe use and you're authorized to use it. Some tools, such as grinders, can be very dangerous if mishandled. Material handling is something we all do daily as part of our work. It's important to lift materials properly to prevent strains, sprains, and other injuries. Before you lift and move any material, take a minute to assess the situation. Consider the following. Is the load less than 50 pounds? If not, get help. Can you pick up the material, or is it too bulky? Is there a clear walking path where you will carry the material? Check the destination. Can you set it down without pinching your fingers? Will dunnage be required to support the material? Once you've completed the assessment for the lift, you can proceed. If the load is too big, heavy, or awkward, use a mechanical device such as a dolly, a pallet jack, the forklift, crane, or material hoist. Any mechanical lifting device must be operated by a trained and certified operator. It's easy to overlook this step or treat it as secondary, but your daily work routine must include time for housekeeping. Please note, your work is not complete until cleanup has happened. Make time throughout the day to pick up scraps and remove and discard waste into the designated areas. Properly store construction materials and band or secure stacked material. so it can't blow around in the wind or fall onto someone. Keep cords, welding leads, and air hoses out of walkways and nearby work areas. Be sure tools are properly stored and organized so you can quickly and easily find what you need. These housekeeping guidelines go a long way towards minimizing hazards and maximizing everyone's efficiency and productivity. There are some basic items you should know about fire prevention, including where the fire extinguishers are located, the types and capabilities of these fire extinguishers, proper operation of the fire extinguishers, and the emergency evacuation routes and assembly areas. You must know the emergency response procedures you're to follow in the event of a fire. Always be aware of your escape routes and know where your muster area is located. Although no one can predict how or when an emergency will occur, we can plan our response. That's why we create an emergency plan for each project. As part of your site-specific orientation, your supervisor will review this plan with you. Being totally familiar with the plan will benefit you and your coworkers should you find yourself in an emergency. Every job site has a project-specific emergency response plan for spills that can be found in the project-specific HSE plan. If you see a spill, notify your supervisor immediately. If it's safe for you to help control the spill, you may, for example, drop some absorbent barriers to keep it from entering a storm drain. Your supervisor will make sure the job site spill kit is used to properly control the spill, and experts will be called in to clean it up. The job site plot plan shows the locations of subcontractor offices, muster points, gate numbers, loading zones, first aid stations, fire extinguishers, and spill kit locations. Your supervisor will show you where your evacuation muster area is located. Each time you do a THA, the muster area must be included. If an alarm is sounded, go to the muster area and report to your supervisor. Stay in the muster area until your supervisor gives you the okay to leave. Remember to always check with your supervisor or any job site staff member for details. Our goal of zero incidents includes preventing not just injuries, but also near misses. To reach our goal of zero incidents, we must be vigilant in identifying any potential or existing hazards. You may do so through our near miss program. A near miss is an event not resulting in injury or damage, but had the potential to. For example, say an iron worker dropped a spud wrench, hitting the ground but doesn't hit anyone or cause any damage. We investigate these incidents and record the details so we can prevent the incident from happening again. We want to fix any problem leading to a near-miss incident. Reporting a near-miss will help your supervisor implement the measures required to prevent future incidents. First, we must know about them. It's your responsibility to report all near misses to your supervisor. Incident investigation is an important part of our strategy to prevent injuries. It allows us to identify the factors which preceded and contributed to an incident, and to implement the corrective measure to prevent it from occurring again. We are all responsible for doing what we can to prevent injuries or to prevent further injuries. If you witness an incident, we'll need your full cooperation and input during our investigation to improve our overall safety operations. If an injury does occur, you must report it to your supervisor immediately. Whether you are involved or not, we ask all employees to seek medical attention even for minor injuries. To this end, we offer first aid on all job sites. Depending on the severity of the injury, we will escort you to the nearest off-site healthcare facility for treatment if necessary. Superior has a modified work program. If you require treatment from a doctor, he or she will provide you with a report describing any restricted activity preventing you from doing your regular work. This report needs to be given to your supervisor. Each time you go back to the doctor, you'll get a new report. Always provide this report to your supervisor. On every job site here at Superior, our goal is to make sure each worker goes home every day as healthy as they came to work. We are fully committed to your well-being on this job site, and we will help you work safely. Likewise, we expect you to have a commitment to safety, resulting in safe decisions every minute you're at work. We always welcome your feedback. If you have an idea making your job site safer, or a better place to work? We want to help. Indicate these ideas to your supervisor, safety committee, or superintendent. Every construction company and every construction site has its own safety requirements and preferences. However, the underlying message of our safety program is the same regardless of the construction market we are working in. Please be vigilant, be proactive, be safe.
You and the many families that comprise our company are what makes Superior Construction so successful. That is why it's so important for each one of you to look out for each other. Remember, our goal is zero incidents. You are working for a team who prioritizes safety above all else for you and the entire Superior family. It's what distinguishes us as a national safety leader in our industry. I give you my commitment to providing the best tools and practices to create a safe working environment. For the sake of your family and our organization, I ask for your commitment to do the same. Service, quality, and safety since 1938. Please work safe, and thank you.